Okay, everyone. All right, everyone. All right, guys, has everyone got pizza? Sorry for the people online that we can't share the pizza with you guys. I was waiting for these guys to kind of finish up in the front. No, you're fine. All right, I'll get started since I started a little bit late. All right, guys, I just want to say thank you for coming to our first DC Lunch and Learn. IT kind of wanted to start something where we could kind of introduce some of our new and then old features that we offer here. On the agenda today, we'll be talking about both our Google Drive and our Cisco IP Communicator. We wanted to start this initiative because we kind of found that with turnover or new hires, that some of the topics that we go over, like our Google Drive, different applications that we use within our network, we don't always have the opportunity to do training on. So if we can kind of broadcast something and shoot it out, do a training for you guys, it might make it a little bit easier for training the masses instead of just doing individual training. So like I said, we'll be going over Google Drive today, and then also our Cisco IP Communicator, the Softphone. So some people may ask, what is the Google Drive? I know quite a few people use it, but you'd be surprised to know that there's still quite a few people out there who don't get the opportunity to actually utilize the Google Drive. So what is the Google Drive? It's a location where you can actually organize all of your documents, folders, and files to one location to store it, Google Drive. It can be accessed through several different devices, whether it be your phone, your computer. It doesn't even have to necessarily be a DC device. It can be your own personal computer. If there's somewhere you need to access your files immediately, you can go there and access them. It just has to be connected to the internet. It's also a location where you can keep all of your documents on the cloud. I'll kind of go into what the cloud is a little bit later on and kind of explain what that means. And then also it allows easy sharing of your files and folders with your colleagues. The benefit of that is with our local network drive, say for example, you need to share something with somebody across the globe. It's much easier to share within Google Drive than it is to try to share it with something that's only locally accessible. All right, so what are the ways that we use the Google Drive? There's two different options, two different methods. The first is online, the cloud that I mentioned. And then the second is the local desktop. Now, what's the difference between the cloud and local? Well, the cloud data is all stored on the Google server. Well, actually, all of it is actually stored on the Google server, but on the cloud is where you can access it by using your web, by going to actually drive.google.com, and I'll show that a little bit later on. Now, local, we have a way for us to install your Google Drive locally on your computer, where you can go and access it directly from your computer. So if you have to save anything directly there for offline access, you'd have that ability. All right, so first we'll talk about the online options for Google Drive. Like I mentioned earlier, the way you get to that location is just by going to drive.google.com there. In this location, you can upload and create files. You can click new. I'll actually show you all how to do this. And then also I mentioned before, you can share and organize files. Now, like I said, I'll kind of show this to you. Put into action here. Okay. So as I mentioned before, this is kind of the web version of your Google Drive, and this is the location you see. When you first sign in, you see up to the left your My Drive. That's where all your files are accessed, well, were saved, and all your folders are kind of listed. And then also below it, with probably earlier this year, there was a feature that was added, this Team Drives. So if you work in a department, it kind of gives you the option to share files and store files that you may not want to necessarily put in your My Drive, but it's something that you want to share with your entire group. You can do that in the My Drive location. And then also it kind of shows a few other things. Any files and folders that have been shared with you, any recent documents that you may have uploaded or have recently been shared with you. And then also Google folders or starred folders. Starred is if, for example, if there's something that you want to mark as important and you want to come back to it on a frequent basis, you can star that file and you can always come back to it. And then trash is kind of self-explanatory. Okay. Yes.
How long can you store things out there indefinitely, or is it time to?
So the question was, how long can you store things out on the Google Drive? The answer to that is indefinitely, or as long as you're with BC, actually. But the answer will be indefinite. Once you store it out there, as long as you don't delete it, it will stay in your Google Drive. Now, one important, and that's a good question, one important thing to note is, say, for example, you store something in your Google Drive and then you share it with your colleagues. If you ever delete that file, that will be deleted from your colleagues. So they won't be able to access that anymore. Now, one thing is if you share it with them, you allow them to edit that, they can always download it so they can have it locally. All right. So Google Drive is the local option. It actually might have looked a little bit different than what you guys have. Recently, Google changed the method for storing it. It used to say Google Drive. Now it's actually called Google File Stream. Now, if you haven't had it updated yet, don't worry. Yeah, we can always install that. Now, if you still have the older Google Drive, it still works just fine. It's just kind of a new version of the Google Drive that they've offered. And I'll kind of tell you the difference and kind of the way it works. Now, unfortunately, on this laptop, I didn't have an opportunity to install it on there, but I can kind of go through and try and show you the way it works. Google File Stream is essentially a quicker way to access your files locally on your computer. Instead of going out to the web and typing in drive.google.com to bring it up, instead you have your Google Drive that's stored locally on your machine. It actually looks exactly like one of the drives. If you ever go into your My Computer and see your G drive, your X drive, you actually see this Google Drive file stream listed in there, and it'll have a file letter associated with it, like a G drive or H drive or something like that. When you first sign into it, you actually see My Drive and Team Drives, exactly like you would see when you sign into the web version. Now, the nice thing about that is, like I said, when you first sign in, instead of going out to the internet, it's all locally on your machine. When you first install it, though, these files aren't actually saved to your computer yet. And the benefit of that is, if you are like me and you have a lot stored in your Google Drive, and I'm talking about like gigabytes of data, you may not want to store that all in your computer. It may not even be essential to store all those in your computer. But you have the option to go into your My Drive, and unfortunately, like I said, I don't have it on this laptop, but you have the option, if you right-click on there, you'll see an option that says save offline, or excuse me, keep offline or only keep online. So if you change it to offline, it'll actually sync up to your computer, and you have access to those when you're working offline and not necessarily connected to the internet. So the benefit of that is, for example, say there's a key PowerPoint presentation, and you have to share it with one of your colleagues or maybe an outside vendor or customer. You need immediate access to it, but you know you store it on the Google Drive. The benefit of that is if you save it directly to your computer, you can get access to it without having to have access to the internet. You know, if they don't have Wi-Fi, if there's an issue with your computer for whatever reason, you still have that stored locally in your MyDrive. And then also, the key benefit and the change that happened when Google changed Google Drive to Google Drive file stream was, I know, a lot of words there. Actually now with the Google File Stream, you have access to your team drives. That was a key benefit because before with just the Google Drive desktop installed, you only had access to your MyDrive files. So that's nice. Like I said, if your team or your department actually utilizes the team drive, you now have the ability to access that on your computer locally. And you still have the option where you can save those files locally, just like you would in your MyDrive.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So then if it's locally, is it still a Google Sheet or is it a Microsoft Excel when you open it?
It actually depends on what you save and what you upload. So say for example, if you've uploaded the question was, if it's saved, is it a Google Sheet or is it a Google or a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet? It actually depends on how you saved it. So if you saved and uploaded Excel spreadsheet to your Google Drive, when you actually link it, it'll be an Excel spreadsheet. Whereas if you created one of the Google Sheets, which we'll go into here, it'll be a Google Sheet that's saved.
And then one more question, if I make changes on my local thing, will it sync to Google or no?
Okay, great question. So the question was, if you make changes when it's saved locally, will it link up? And yes. So say you're offline and you make changes to your document, as soon as you reconnect to the internet, it'll automatically sync it in the background.
So how does it mesh? Let's say that I share a document with Jamie and she makes changes online. I downloaded it and I made changes. When I get back online,
it'll all sync in the background. That's kind of the benefit of the collaboration. Now there's one key thing that I need to let you know. If it's a Google Sheet or a Google Doc or a Google Slide, if it's saved in your machine and you make an edit to it, it'll sync back. However, if it is a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet and you make an edit to it, that other person will not receive that edit. So it's kind of I guess it's more of a benefit to actually utilize some of these Google options when you're trying to create a new document. So going to some of the additional features that are offered for your Google Drive. Also, you find all these when, like I showed before, when you first log into your Google Drive, you'll see that new button. When you click on it, you'll actually see some additional options. You'll see Google Documents, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and Google Forms. Little information, I won't go too in depth, but I'll just kind of give you the background. Google Docs, the Microsoft equivalent to that would be Microsoft Word. So Google kind of makes it really nice for you and kind of sets it up where you can create a nice document. And then the nice thing is you have the ability to share it with all your colleagues and whatnot. Now Google Sheets is kind of like Microsoft Excel. I will say that it doesn't offer necessarily all the same features as Microsoft Excel. Some of the formulas aren't necessarily there. It does offer certain formulas, but for example, like pivot tables, macros aren't offered in there. So if you don't need that, you just kind of need, for lack of better words, a dumbed down version of Excel that you can share with people immediately. This is probably a good option for you. Google Slides is like PowerPoint. This was actually, I created this starting with Google Slides and then kind of converted it over to PowerPoint. I need to add a few pictures in there. But if you ever need to do something where you need to create something, it's much similar to PowerPoint. Now, the one key with, you're probably asking, well, why would I use this instead of Microsoft Office? Well, the nice thing about this is, say, for example, something that multiple people need to have their eyes on or work with. Using Google Docs, Google Sheets, or Google Slides, you actually have the opportunity to work together all within the same document at the same time. Kind of the way that works is, say you create a document and you share it with 5 people. You provide that link to them, and it goes out to them. You give them edit access. So when they sign it up, if everyone's in there, you kind of see everyone's photograph within the document. You guys all have access at the same time to input whatever data you need. If there needs to be any changes and you're working on it, say you're in a Google Hangout and you guys are talking about your spreadsheet or your document, you all have the access to work on it all at the same time. So it's kind of nice for collaborative work. And something that needs to be done kind of right at that moment. Yeah, go ahead, Cassie.
We're all working on it. Who overwrites who?
Who overwrites who? Actually, you know, the nice thing about it is you can actually see who is typing in a certain, like, for example, in the spreadsheet, you can see who's specifically typing in that column at one time. And I didn't mention it, but it actually, say for example, somebody makes an edit to a document and they did it incorrectly. The nice thing about these Google documents is you have the option of going back to an earlier revision at any point in time. And it actually, if say for example, there's been 5 revisions, it'll show you the actual changes that have been made within that document by the person, so you can see who actually made the change. And you can always revert it back to that older version. And just some of this, I'll revisit some of these key benefits I mentioned earlier about the Google Drive. It's easily sharing of files and folders. Like I said, the example I used earlier is if you wanted to share something across the water to someone, say in Zurich. It's much easier to save it in the Google Drive and share it. And it's say, for example, like a large video, because I know that's really hard to share. Say it's something that's like 40 megabytes that you can't send in an email. Save it to your Google Drive and just share it with your colleague, and they'll have it instantaneous. Backup storage. It's another location to store your vital files. I always recommend this now, especially since I've had a lot of issues with hard drives lately, where someone has lost all their data. I strongly recommend saving your key vital files, if not all of them, to some location where it can be backed up. The worst thing you can have is come in and your computer won't start up and you lose all your data. So if you need to save something, the Google Drive is a great location to save it. Oh, no, sorry, not that. And then again, access your files from anywhere. Like I said, you can pretty much on any phone, whether it be an Android or an iPhone, you can download the Google Drive app to your phone. You can access it. BC does not block that. If you have a tablet, a personal computer, you have access to all your files there. I know some people don't necessarily like to travel with their BC laptops for whatever reason. They might be too heavy. If you have an iPad and you want to take it with you, you have access to your Google Drive file. You can bring that up. All right, so we'll move over to the second topic here. It is our yeah, go ahead.
Is it possible to share with someone outside of the team a file or a folder from that team drive?
So the question was, is it possible to share a file or folder with somebody from the team drive outside of their Callebaut?
No, from within BC, but from other teams.
Yeah. So you still have the ability to do that. You can still share. Just put in their Callebaut email address, and it'll share that file with them. Now, I will say that I'd recommend if you were going to do that, that you actually share it from your My Drive location, just in case there's some information in it that your team does not want somebody outside of your department to see. Any other questions about this?
How about someone outside of BC? If it's a 40 meg, like.
So you can. You can share with people outside of the company. I may have to show it because I'll show you that individually, unfortunately. I don't have it on here, but there's a way you can share it with people outside of the company. You can send it to their email. The only thing is there's a check mark, and unfortunately I don't have it here, that allows other people to actually view your documents outside. I'll work with you on that. And I'll send that out to you guys afterwards too. Any other questions about Google Drive before I move on? No? Okay. So the second topic is, and this is shorter, it's just about our Cisco IP communicator. And this is one of those where I think there's a lot of people who didn't know this was actually available. So what is the communicator? It's actually a desktop application that we install on your computer. It allows you to actually utilize your phone directly from your computer, your desktop phone from your computer. It allows you to both dial and receive calls from outside of the office, pretty much anywhere that you have a network connection to. It uses the same exact work phone number that you have here. So when somebody dials here in Chicago, your 312-496 number, it'll dial to both your desk phone if you're actually at your desk, or it'll dial to your soft phone at the same time. So depending on wherever you're at, you have access to your phone. And this is kind of the way it looks. So the one key thing is if you're out of the office and you're not in a BC office and you're not connected to a BC network, the one key that you need first is to actually connect to the VPN. Now everyone should have actually PostSecure installed on your machine. If you don't, let me know if this is a feature that you actually utilize. But you have to connect to the VPN first in order to start it. Then once you do that, the interface here on the right is what you'll see. And if you look at it, it looks exactly like the desk phone that you have at your computer. All the same functionality, all the same features. The only thing is if you want to dial, you have to use your numpad or your mouse, of course. Voicemail apps the exact same way. Pretty much is your phone directly on your computer. Benefit of that, allows for remote access and flexibility. I know there's been an initiative that's been put out there for users to work from home. It kind of gives you that option to work from home, but then still have the ability to fully access your company phone and get calls, and it seems like you're just like at your desk. And then the cost savings. This is more for kind of the BC side, but for BC, it's more of a cost savings. For example, say you're overseas, you're traveling. Instead of having to use your company phone or use your personal phone and spit it back, you have the option to actually log into the internet, just connect to VPN and log into the Cisco phone, and it saves the company, however much it would be for international roaming calls. So. And then also no one knows where you're located. So, if you're on vacation, you have to log in, you can log into your system. All right, so that kind of culminates the first session of this BC IT Lunch and Learn. We kind of wanted to make it quick and kind of easy and kind of go over some topics that were a little bit more familiar. But what we'll do moving forward is we'll kind of have this once a month in different locations and then offered by different IT colleagues. And we'll go over different things, different topics. But if you have any additional questions, I know some of the individuals who connected via the internet may have questions. Just feel free to email me, Carlin Doris here, Carlin_Doris@Callebaut.com, and ask any questions you might like. There was a question about sharing outside of BC. I'll get that question answered and I'll send it out in a publication. But now I'll open it up to any questions that we might have here locally about any of the topics. Go ahead, Brett.
The network drives, is it the intention to eventually replace those? Do you advise us or recommend us to start putting more stuff on Google Drives as opposed to using the network drives, or is it merely a supplement?
So the question was, will our network drives go away and should use the Google Drive instead of using the network drive? The answer is, as of now, no, we'll still incorporate using those, the local drives. The biggest difference in those is the local factor. For example, if you say something locally and you need to share it with somebody, say even here in Chicago, if you want to share it with somebody in Pensacola, there's going to be a delay in them being able to access that. And then also if you say something, it won't be saved in real time. So in essence, I would say if if you're sharing things across the board, I always recommend using Google Drive. Actually, we have unlimited space there. I've seen people back up their entire computer there. I wouldn't recommend that, but you do have that option if you needed to. So as of now, it's not going to replace it. We always kind of want to have something locally in the event that, you know, we can access the internet for that day and it's not safe locally. So it won't replace it yet, but it's just kind of another feature that we offer. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I'm sure I understood this incorrectly. This Pulse Secure only works from your laptop?
Correct.
So can it work on our phone or no?
Not yet. We haven't incorporated that feature yet. We may do that in the future because I know there's an option where we can, well, in the future, there may be an option where we can incorporate the Softphone on your phone. But as of right now, it only works on a VC computer.
Okay.
Once you get connected to Pulse Secure, how do you get to the screen where you actually make a call?
So say this is you want to utilize the Softphone. We just have to install that on your computer. So, and it's just it's an application called Cisco IP Communicator that we can place on your desktop. So once you connect to the VPN, you double click on it, it automatically starts up for you.
Can you put that on there?
I can put that on your computer. And for the users on the call, if that's a feature that you like, feel free to contact either me or your local IT representative. We can help you out with that. Any other questions? Any questions about BC, Lunch and Learn, anything like that? Go ahead. Yeah.
I turned on the phone in my laptop, so I turned it off. Because I came back to the office, both the desktop and my laptop rang at the same time.
So I don't have it installed in here, but actually if you write, the question was how do you turn off the Softphone when you don't want to use it, essentially. I don't have it right here, but I can kind of show you. I'll go back a couple slides. At the very top of the interface of the Cisco Softphone, you'll see 4 different buttons. The one at the top that kind of looks like a rectangle right here. If you click on there, that's the menu button. If you go down to the bottom, it has an exit. You can just exit out and then close it out. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Well, guys, I want to say thank you for coming today. Hopefully, this information was all beneficial for you, and hopefully you utilize the Softphone and also the Google Drive more often now. And like I said, if there's some features on here that aren't installed on your computer, let me know. For example, like that Google file stream, I can always upload, install that on your machine, and get you running with that. All right, guys. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay.